Om Swamiji. Swamiji, how does Vedanta help balance one's material and spiritual lives?
It is natural for a human being to consider one's material needs as very important in one's life. We are also raised into thinking that material prosperity is extremely important. And sometimes we are also taught the importance of spiritual pursuit. But many times, the spiritual pursuit is also looked at as only secondary to one's material prosperity. So it becomes imperative to have a balance between one's material and spiritual lives. If we look at our material needs, they can be classified into two categories. One is our basic material requirements: food, clothing, and shelter. And then the other material needs that are prompted by our desires. So the basic needs are mandatory, and we definitely need to satisfy our basic material requirements to live, to sustain ourselves. But sometimes even what we think as our basic material requirements, that becomes a gray area because we tend to mix up our really basic requirements and then some of our requirements that are not really basic, and conclude that they are also our basic requirements. So we are not able to draw the line or have that clarity. And then our material desires. What the study of Vedanta does is that it teaches us to scrutinize each and every material need that we have, and then look at it dispassionately as to whether it's really a necessity or it is a luxury. And if it is a necessity, then it is legitimate. But most of the time, we find that a lot of what we think we require are luxuries. We end up making our luxuries into necessities. So, in the process of studying Vedanta, I train my mind to carefully look at each and every material need. And then, if it is not really required, then I train my mind to not waste my time on that. And this is true of my desires also. Many times, or in fact, most of the time, a lot of my desires are only fancies that my mind has created for itself, thinking that I will be happy only if I fulfill this desire. which is not really true. And Vedanta teaches me that even if I don't fulfill any desire, I can still be a complete person, totally at peace with myself and joyful. So, this study helps me in not becoming reckless with my material needs. And if I become reckless, then I spend my whole life meaninglessly and aimlessly chasing things that I don't really require. So the desires pull me in so many different directions. And I just end up chasing them without without having any control over my desires, without having any hold over my desires. So this we can understand when we look at a dog owner walking his dog. Ideally, the person should be taking the dog, leading the dog, and then taking the dog where he wants to take it. Many times we find that if the dog is a big one, then the dog ends up dragging the owner to where it wants to go rather than the owner deciding where he wants to take the dog. So here the dog represents my material needs and desires, and the owner is my own mind and intellect. So the choice is ours, whether we want our desires to control my life, control our lives, or I want to be in charge of my desires. So that clarity I get when I get more and more clarity with regard to the truth of myself when I study Vedanta. So this is how I learned to balance my material and spiritual lives.
Thank you so much, Swamiji.